Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to us if you could just scroll down, like, hit the subscribe button for the Snaps YouTube channel. It goes a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's dive into some college football. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome, man. It is, what is it? January 9th, 2024. Wow, that's kind of crazy. January 9th. This is a 12 years after I was a member of a team that lost a national championship 21-0. 12 years today, we now welcome in a newly crowned national champion and a good-looking one at that. My God. Like Aaron's good-looking, but the man in between us has more masculinity. That's Jake Butt right there. Let me check my mic settings right quick. Aaron, Jake, thank you for joining us. Aaron, take it away.
Yeah, T-Bob, please fix the mics. Jake, how are we feeling today? I mean, are we exhausted? We look a little tired.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, exhausted for sure. It's a long. I realize, you just get in it, you get in that battle rhythm, and it's like the pressure building towards the end of the season, and I'm, bouncing around, and it was worth it, man. But yes, I'm ready. We'll make our rounds. We'll hang out with you guys. We'll hang out with some of the friends in the media space, and then it's my bachelor party this weekend. So I had a lot riding on that game last night, man. All the boys were real hopeful that we could celebrate an extra special weekend, and thankfully Michigan pulled it home.
Bachelor party this weekend after a natty on Monday. Absolutely
dangerous. But we made it happen.
Oh my God, the vibes are impossibly high. And really, Jake, it's got to feel very validating because it was a national championship that I would describe as undisputed, right? Like clearly Michigan was the best team all year long.
Oh yeah, and you're exactly right, T-Bob. I mean, that game certainly had some drama to it, right? I mean, gosh, Michigan had how many opportunities? I mean, the way they opened the game, it's like they're going to roll to a victory. And in hindsight, they kind of did, but they also didn't. There were so many opportunities in that game for them to just seize complete control, and it just kept hanging around. They just couldn't quite score. But Michigan's defense, man, lights out. Oh my gosh. What an absolute performance. It was seriously poetic for them to end the season winning the national title by playing defense and having a dominant run game.
Where were the nerves heading into the game? Because this new era of football, I think it was hard for people to comprehend of can a team that style of football match up with an elite quarterback and elite receivers? Because we've kind of seen like that model work for quite some time now. Like, where was your confidence level walking into the stadium last night?
I felt really at peace, and I wasn't all too nervous going into the game. I felt real confident. The main thing is just when I was talking to the guys out here at Media Days with the Big Ten Network, is I was just confident that I felt they were going to play their best game. Like I just look into the eyes of Blake Corum, and I'm like, man, you will not be denied. I could just tell looking at Mikey Sainer still. Like, why would I ever doubt these guys? They've proven time and time again why no one should doubt them. And shouldn't doubt them, right? And then even Donovan Edwards, man, how about that guy? Like, we're all season we've even been talking about it. Like, man, Don, where's the Don at? And when you needed him most, he showed up. I mean, probably wasn't their best team game all year, but maybe their best defensive performance. Blake Corum, maybe his best game, maybe the best rushing performance. So, man, it was awesome.
No, in the end, while still technically Michigan does affirm the blue chip ratio because I think they're right at that 50% cutoff. This is still a championship team that feels like more of a team. I keep going back to this, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts than we've seen in a while. And it's all the elements. We called them yesterday. We said one word to describe Michigan. We said complete. There are no weaknesses, right? It was just a matter of could that defense hold up in face of the Washington offense. And they did that and then some. Because as you're alluding to, Jake, like even though it looked like Michigan was going to roll early on, the Washington defense did their job. If you would have told me that the Washington defense would have held Michigan to 27, I would have thought that was enough for Washington to win. And I know how do you interpret Michael Penix's play? Because we had some light debate on last night's reaction show as to was Penix off and he just didn't have it that night, or did Michigan force him to be off? Was there unforced errors or forced errors out of that Washington offense last night?
Yeah, it wasn't a little bit of both. It definitely wasn't his best game. That dude was in the injury tent. I mean, one of my biggest takeaways is, we talked about, hey, is Michigan going to be able to get pressure behind that Joe Moore Award offensive line? Dude, Penix was beat up. And I give him a lot of credit because, there were some shots of him kind of limping back to the locker room. He was in and out of the medical tent. I mean, he was beat up and took shots that he hadn't seen all year. And it just further confirmed the belief I had of how elite that Michigan defensive line is, particularly on the inside. But I mean, you think about it, man, they hit a double move down their sideline that looked like that was going to be a gut-wrenching play for Michigan fans and looked like Washington may make this game even more interesting. And it's a holding and it gets brought back, right? There was that fourth down earlier in the game where it's a blown coverage by Will Johnson. Roman wide open. Penix doesn't miss those throws. That one, right? So there's just these small little examples. As we say, football's a game of inches that if they bounce in Washington's favor, it's a different game. But I give more credit to Michigan's defense than I do to say Penix played a bad game.
Well, and I want to go to Michigan's offensive line. Like that was kind of the funny thing heading into the game was you had Washington, Joe Moore winning offensive line versus the previous back-to-back champs of that award. And I saw a video from Danny Cannell. I think Danny was at the game on the sideline pregame and watching the Michigan offensive linemen go through their warm-ups. They look like grown men. I mean, like 6'5", 6'6", 320, just absolute monsters. And they played like that. Like, did the Joe Moore committee give it to the wrong offensive line again this year?
No, they didn't give it to the wrong offensive line. I don't want to play those games. But here's the thing: do you think Michigan probably had that conversation in there?
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Right. We know how we use those things to our advantage. So that team is that offensive line led by Sharon Moore, and for them to have that performance without Zach Zinter, I mean, they're nameless, faceless, man. They're just one unit. It was a beautiful sight. Those holes early in the game, I mean, you could have driven a bus through those holes. And I was glad that the ball was in Donovan Edwards' hands, man, to show you he's got that top end elite speed.
Yeah, the craziest stat I saw, Jake, in route to Michigan, averaging 12 yards a carry for the first half. At one point, they had over 170 yards on the ground with 154 before contact. Before contact. Let's talk about Harbaugh. Obviously, this is a fascinating kind of culmination of a 9-year journey. He shows up at Michigan, a program down in the dumps, immediately turns it around, but then has some steps back, flirts with the playoffs, doesn't quite make it, then has the 2-4 2020 where it looks like everybody's ready to move on, but both parties bet on each other, stick with each other, and incremental improvements, right? I think it was like 12-2, 12-1, now 15-0. You played for Harbaugh. You know this man. Before we talk about anything for the future, what has been your personal experience with this coach, and what does he mean to Michigan?
Hey, thank God the emotional fan isn't the one that makes the final decisions, man, right? Because if they're the narrative after that COVID year, a lot of Michigan fans wanted him gone. This is a great to reflect and say, remind yourself, because tough times will surely come at some point again in the future. Remind yourself, of this example. I'm just happy for him, man. It's undeniable. He's one of the best coaches, not just in college football, not just football in general, and all of sports, man. He's won everywhere he's been. The context of what he inherited, 2014, the year before he got here, was my sophomore year. We were 5-7. We were at home for Christmas. We didn't even make a bowl game. We're not talking about a national title or competing for. We were talking, we did not even make a bowl game. And he immediately turned us around to back-to-back 10-win seasons. And then how often do we see this? What ends up happening, it happened with Nebraska. It happened with Wisconsin, just to give two Big Ten examples. Teams where you're banging your head against the ceiling. And clearly for Coach Harbaugh, it's like, hey, can you get over the hump? Can you beat Ohio State? Can you win a conference title? Can you then win a national title? And that COVID year, they took a big step back. I mean, the Michigan State game, I remember watching that on TV, of course, eerie because there's no fans in the stands. And in Mel Tucker's first year, Michigan got ran off the field. And it was shocking and it was painful as an alum to watch. And there's the fork in the road where a lot of Michigan fans said, that's it. Time to move on. Time to start over. And for Jim, he almost took a trust fall. They entered that 2021 season unranked. It was Cade McNamara as their quarterback. They had a 0.1% chance of winning the conference title. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, yeah, he's good, but is he? How much of a difference maker can he be? And it was like literally like a rebound, man. He went younger with his staff. It was like a vertical climb, like a rocket ship from the beginning of that 2021 season to where we are now. And you just give a lot of credit for him, man. He's genuine. He's always the same guy every day of the week, man, no matter the situation. And talk about vindication, man. He went to the Super Bowl and lost, right? He's been there. That is such a painful experience. This was the one he wanted. Happy for him to get it done.
Real quick, Jake, because I know you have to go. We got to ask you, do you think he's gone? I'm sorry, Aaron, to jump in.
Okay.
Do we think he's gone?
Gosh, I've wrestled with this man so much. I don't think anyone really knows inside the mind of Coach Harbaugh. But at this point, if I had to bet, it seems like he's leaving. And I just want to say thanks to Coach Harbaugh for what he did for me as a player. And thanks for if that is the case, thanks for what he did for the program. Just, what he's done for my family, the joy we've got to watch his team compete. He deserves the right to do whatever's best for him. I thought Ward Manuel handled the press conferences phenomenally well. I mean, you can't handle it better than what Ward and President Santaono have. They've definitely give Jim every reason to come back. If he chooses to walk and go pursue an NFL career and try to win a Super Bowl, I'll be rooting for him there.
Who's next? Is it on staff if he does move on? Who's kind of your gut leaning towards?
It seems like because of what Sharon Moore has done this year, like that's an easy plug and play. What he did in that Ohio State game, like if you just woke up from a coma and you didn't know who was the head coach, you would have thought it was Coach Harbaugh, the decisions that got made there. I mean, I know this sounds crazy. If not Sharon Moore, I'd be looking at Kalen DeBoer. I mean, seriously, I would be looking at Kalen DeBoer. I mean, what he's done, I'd be, I think he's making like $4 or $5 million at Washington right now. I mean, you could give him a nice, healthy pay increase and feel good. It's a similar brand, so he'd be another name I'd watch out for.
Jake, thank you so much, man. I know you got a crazy busy day today. Where are you going on the bachelor party?
I'm going to North Carolina, man. I'm going to play paintball. I'm going to do a spell. So here's what it is. Thursday night, we're going to do a spelling bee. Friday morning, we're going to do paintball. Saturday, we're going to go for a hike, and then we're watching ball all day on Saturday. So good time.
Something about this feels misleading. I get it. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
We'll keep your secret. We'll keep your secret.
I agree.
It's going to be. Don't worry.
I would actually love to play paintball again, honestly. I haven't played in fucking years.
Smart to publicly say that, just in case. It's very smart.
I wanted to play paintball just because it's all my college roommates. And it's like, dude, there was nothing better than playing a football game and getting bruised up and being sore and like the adrenaline's wearing off and you can pour up a glass of bourbon sitting around the fire. So I will give you guys that. We'll get bruised up playing paintball and then we'll enjoy some bourbon. We are going to have a spelling bee, but there's going to be ramifications if you misspell a word. I'm sure you guys can assume what that is.
You got to be the only fucking bachelor party I've ever heard of having a pre-planned spelling bee. Are you like a good speller?
I just want to see my dumb friends trying to spell words, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, GOODBYE to our good friend Jake Butt. We love you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us, dude.
Thanks, guys.